Strategy Implementation Plan. Have we got someone who could talk about that? Aha.
Jessica Hall is
So Mr Foles, on the 18th of February, the Executive Director of Transport Policy Division, gave a commitment to this committee in relation to the implementation of the 12 recommendations, and I'll use his words. The aim is to have both the implementation plan and the governance review at the Council of Australian Government's Transport Infrastructure Council at its first meeting this year. So we're talking 18th February. Now, the governance review, was that presented to the Transport Infrastructure Council?
Yes, it was, Senator.
Was the implementation plan presented?
Senator, it was as a draft. We'd been working with the states and territories on that, and so a draft implementation plan was considered by the council.
So it wasn't presented?
A draft implementation plan that had been worked up in agreement with the states and territories was presented to the council for consideration.
Okay, so a governance review was presented and a draft implementation plan. So is it possible to get a look at the governance review and the draft implementation plan?
The governance review is a public document and is available on the website. We're happy to send a link to the committee.
I've read that. But what about the implementation plan?
That's still, as it was a draft, so it's still being worked through with the states and territories.
This is road safety. What's the secret?
Sorry, Senator, we're working very closely with the states and territories, taking into account the issues that were raised by the Jeremy Woolley and John Crozier.
That's not what the governance review said. It said you weren't taking strong national leadership. Are you trying to say you are now?
The point of setting up the Office of Road Safety within the department was a key response to that finding. You've asked me specifically about the implementation review. I don't have a final document that I can release.
Okay, so the key finding of the governance review was that there'd been an absence of federal leadership in road safety.
That was a key finding, yes, Senator.
Okay. And you've got a draft implementation plan, which is not publicly available to anyone outside of the Industry Council, is it?
Sorry, Senator, we have been doing a lot of work with the states and territories on road safety. Many of the issues that were identified in the implementation plan, actions are going forward either through decisions that were taken at the council meeting in August, or work that we're doing with the states and territories through starting to work on the new strategy that council is committed to considering.
All right, I'm going to move on to a question. So,
can I just ask a question directly relevant to that review? And,
can I stop you?
I'm just rather than chopping and changing and going from topic to topic while we're on topic, I just want to know. One of the recommendations from the review was to establish the Office of Road Safety. I understand the implementation plan is still a dark horse, but some things have happened. So the Office of Road Safety has been established. That was a recommendation.
We are going to go down that.
And how many other recommendations of that inquiry are underway or already complete, even though we haven't seen the implementation plan?
So all recommendations are underway. A number of them have been completed already. They include, just bear with me for a second, Senator. Recommendation 1 has been completed, which is create a strong national leadership by appointing a Cabinet Minister with specific multi-agency responsibility. Recommendation 2, establish a national road safety entity, which is obviously the Office of Road Safety, has been completed. Recommendation 6 has been completed, which is undertake a national road safety governance review. All the others are currently underway.
So it is fair to say that despite the fact that we're still negotiating the final implementation plan with the states and territories, work is underway, and at a federal level, what we can do, we are getting on with the job.
Yeah, that's correct, Senator. And I should also mention that I think there was a recommendation 11, resource key road safety enablers and road safety innovation initiatives, that was also completed. That was announced in budget this year.
Does the defence rest?
I do. All yours.
Okay. So at the estimates hearing of the 18th of February, the Deputy Secretary, Pip Spence, and the Acting General Manager of Road Safety Task Force, Ms Sue Tucker, both assured the committee that inquiry chairs Professor Woolley and Dr Crozier were among the experts consulted by the task force to address the inquiry's 12 recommendations. Ms Tucker was very clear. We have met with them a couple of times to talk through the inquiry and understand the intent of recommendations. Ms Spence, you were also clear. We're engaging with Dr Crozier and Mr Woolley, who we have a great deal of respect for, to make sure the direction they are going is in accordance with their views expressed in the inquiry report. Now, this is the inquiry into the National Road Safety Strategy, So, between the reports being handed down in September last year and the assurances of Ms Tucker and Ms Spence, on what dates did the department meet with Dr Crozier and Professor Woolley?
Senator, I'd have to take on notice the specific dates that we met with them, but I'd have to take it. But I've spoken to...
You did meet with them, though?
Oh, I've met multiple occasions with both Jeremy Woolley and John Crozier.
On after this particular report?
I have met with them to discuss their report. I'd have to take on notice. It would have been Sue and the team who had specific conversations around in the lead up to the Transport and Infrastructure Council meeting in August.
So we're very clear here. We want to know what dates did the department meet with Dr Crozier and Professor Woolley, whether it's in person or by phone, and who the departmental representatives were attending those meetings.
Thanks, Senator. We'll take that on notice.
And you don't want to withdraw the earlier comments about meeting with them, because we've been told you didn't meet with them.
I've met with both of them on numerous occasions.
Subsequent to the presentation of that report. Is that your evidence?
That I've met with both Jeremy Woolley and
After
John Crozier subsequent to them
report.
providing the report. Yes, Senator.
Okay, but you just can't remember when?
I just can't give you the specific dates. No,
Was
I'm
it
sorry.
Once, twice?
I can think of at least 2 occasions that I've met with Jeremy, and the same with Mr
Dr Crozier?
Dr Crozier.
Together?
Not together, no, Senator.
Well, sorry, Ms Spence, I'm gobsmacked because I saw a video with Dr Crozier, and I've spoken with Dr Crozier and Professor Woolley. I spoke with Professor Woolley at the College of Road Safety National Conference in Adelaide a couple of weeks ago. It has said very clearly to us there's been no consultation over the report at all. So has your meetings been about something else? Or?
I'm surprised to hear that, Senator.
Not as surprised as I am.
Yeah, because my view is we have discussed with them what we're doing in response to the inquiry. I was at the same conference, I was on the same panel as Jeremy, where he talked about the engagement that we've had with them on what's going forward to the Transport and Infrastructure Council. So, as said, we'll have to take on notice the specific details.
So sorry, have the conversations been on the recommendations of the report as well? Have they been involved? And of course, there's Lachlan McIntosh and Rob McInerney, who I should also acknowledge their fine work as well. Has there been discussions around the recommendations, or bringing them into the tent to talk about how that can be achieved, with Ms Hall saying that, I thought you said all of them are underway, all the recommendations. Did you say that?
All of the recommendations are being...
So the $3 billion spend as well, that's underway?
The $3 billion in regards to the infrastructure investment, the government is already spending...
Sorry, I've digressed. I just want to come back to Ms Spence because I'm shocked. But I'm keen to see where the $3 billion spend that you've committed to.
So we can table some information for you, Senator, in regards to the what is expended currently on infrastructure.
We can come back to these recommendations, but I'm just very keen because that's clearly what has been told to me.
So, Ms Spence, you've taken the exact dates on notice. Is there no one in the room or in the adjoining room who would be able to shed some light on this this question?
No, I'm sorry, Senator. We have taken it on notice, and as I said, I have met with both John and Jeremy. We have discussed the way we're taking the inquiry forward into the Transport and Infrastructure Council, and I'll get back to you with specific information on meetings that the department has held with both of them, subsequent to them providing the inquiry report.
So the video that Senator Stirls has commented on, are you aware of it?
Yes, Senator, I have seen that video.
And what was the result, what was the department's reaction to that video? Which is, you know, basically a public plea from the co-chairs.
Subsequent to when that video was released, there has been the discussion at the Transport and Infrastructure Council, and the impression that I'd been left with is while the authors feel that we probably haven't gone as far as they would like, they have indicated to me that they at least saw that there were some positive steps that the federal government was taking. So while I think their preference would be, or their recommendations stand as they are, but they did feel like the Commonwealth was at least engaging in a space where perhaps we hadn't previously.
Well, I've met Mr Crozier subsequently, and I'm not sure that he would share your assertion that the Commonwealth's going along in a very positive manner.
Oh, sorry, Senator.
Anyway, that's that. You're taking that on notice. You're going to come back with some dates, and we're going to get that all sorted out. Now, the Office of Road Safety. Have we got a structure there? I mean, do we know what's happening there? I mean, I've had some industry feedback that the... have you got a CEO yet?
No, we're close to finalising that appointment.
So you have a structure though. There's so many SES.
There's a branch that's now been established within the Surface Transport Policy Division, so it's clearly identified in our organisation chart, and we have a recruitment process underway and very close to completion for the head of the Office of Road Safety.
Have you had industry feedback that the structure is probably not likely to work all that well, given that the CEO is four levels down from a decision maker? Has anybody told you that? I mean, the Office of National Road Safety would need to interact with, I presume, people all around the country, and if his level is below the people he's interacting with, it may not be all that successful. Has anybody told you that?
Most of the people that... No one has said that specifically to me. They may have raised it with other members of the department.
Well, perhaps on notice if you could give us some feedback about industry assessment of the structure of the office, because I've had criticism put to me is that, that no suitably qualified person in the private sector would apply for it because it lacks a clear decision-making role, and they think it's doomed to fail because it's too far down the ladder of decision-making in the department. That's pretty straightforward feedback. I'm sure you'd have had the same.
Genuinely, Senator, no one has put it to me
Would
in those
Mr Kennedy
terms.
have had the same?
Sorry, just let her finish, please.
She did.
No, she hadn't finished her answer. Please
Well,
let her
I
finish the
understood her
answer.
answer perfectly.
Okay, well, I was
We're running
waiting
out of
for her
time
to
here.
finish it.
So what about Mr Kennedy? Did he have that feedback before he departed for greener pastures?
Senator, I'm not aware of anyone raising that with Dr Kennedy.
Is it possible to take that on notice?
We can check. We can see what correspondence Dr Kennedy received prior to leaving the organisation.
So the governance review, do you have the AusTender costs for that?
No, we should take that on notice.
Does $430,000 sound about right?
I'd have to take that on notice. Senator.
You don't know what the governance review cost?
I'm sorry, Senator. The governance review was undertaken before I started in this role, so I'll just have to go back and double check.
And was there payments made to the two expert witnesses of $30,000?
Sorry, can I come back? Sorry, Cynthia.